All right, everybody, welcome back. We like to jump into things here, and today we're going deep on discipline.
That's right. We're diving into building discipline, habits, and focus to see what we can learn.
Exactly. And let's be real, none of us want to spend ages getting to the good stuff. So we boiled down this source to the most powerful and practical tips.
It's all about getting you results, right?
Absolutely. This source kicks off with this great metaphor. It says that discipline is like a bridge between our goals and achieving them, actually getting to success.
And that's so true. I mean, everyone wants to reach that success side, right?
Right. But how do we actually build that bridge? What are those first steps we need to take?
Well, the source says it all starts with small habits.
Small habits. You mean like making your bed every morning or something?
That's one example, but think even smaller, like waking up just 15 minutes earlier than usual.
15 minutes? That hardly seems like it would make a difference.
You'd be surprised. It's not about the size of the action itself, it's the consistency and the momentum it creates.
So it's more about building a routine than tackling something huge right off the bat.
Yeah. Like you wouldn't try to build a skyscraper starting with the top floor.
That's a good point. So if we're talking baby steps here, what else does the source suggest?
Another one they highlight is drinking enough water throughout the day.
Really?
Yeah.
Something that simple. How does that tie into discipline?
Well, it's about training yourself to consistently meet a basic need. It might seem insignificant, but it helps build that self-discipline muscle.
So we're basically proving to ourselves that we can follow through on something we set out to do.
Exactly. And the book also mentions short workouts. Even just 5 minutes a day can make a difference.
So it seems like the key takeaway here is that we need to stop focusing on these huge, overwhelming goals and break them down into manageable chunks.
Precisely. Small changes, done consistently, lead to big results over time. It's about building a system, a structure that supports you on the journey.
And you know what? This reminds me of something else the source talks about.
Yeah.
Planning.
Yeah, planning your day the night before.
Right. The book specifically recommends identifying your top 3 priorities.
And I think this goes back to what we were just talking about. By planning ahead, you're basically breaking down your day into those manageable chunks.
You're setting yourself up for success before the day even begins.
Right. Think about it this way. You know how decision fatigue is a real thing?
Oh, tell me about it. By the end of the day, I can barely choose what to eat for dinner.
Exactly. Planning the night before essentially front loads those decisions when your willpower is still high, so you're not wasting that precious energy on small stuff throughout the day.
So we're basically being strategic with our willpower. We're giving ourselves the best chance to stay disciplined. What other planning strategies does it recommend?
Well, there are tons of methods out there, right? Like time blocking, where you actually schedule specific times for different tasks.
I've heard of that. Seems pretty intense.
It can be, but it's super effective for some people.
Hmm.
Or there's the Eisenhower matrix, which helps you prioritize tasks based on how urgent and important they are.
So you're saying there's no one-size-fits-all approach. It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly. And just like with building those small habits, planning is something you can refine over time.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got our small habits in place. We're planning like pros. What else can we do to make sure we're staying disciplined and on track?
The source really emphasizes this next one. We have to minimize distractions.
Oh yeah, in this day and age, that's easier said than done.
No kidding, especially with all the digital distractions around us, social media, notifications popping up constantly.
It's like our attention spans are under constant attack.
This is where understanding the science of distraction is huge.
Yeah, hence distraction.
Yeah,
Mm.
like there's actual research showing that every time we switch our attention between tasks, it takes a toll on our brains. It takes time to refocus, and all that task switching leads to mental fatigue.
That makes sense. I always feel so drained after spending hours scrolling through social media. I'm getting nothing done, but I'm exhausted.
Yeah. Exactly. So minimizing distractions isn't just about productivity, it's about protecting your mental energy.
So how do we actually do that? Put our phones in a lockbox.
Well, you could, but start with simple things like turning off those pesky notifications, putting your phone on Do Not Disturb mode.
What about those times when you really need to focus, like if you're working on a big project or something?
There are some great tools for that, like website blockers that prevent you from accessing certain sites.
Ah, so you're not even tempted to check social media or whatever.
Right. Or try the Pomodoro technique. It's where you work in focused 25-minute intervals with short breaks in between.
I've heard of that. Doesn't it involve a timer shaped like a tomato or something?
It can, but the main idea is that you're intentionally creating those focused work periods and then giving yourself permission to rest and recharge.
That's like a great way to prevent burnout, too.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're being mindful of distractions, we're planning our days, we're starting small. Anything else we can do to boost our discipline game?
Well, the source actually brings up a really interesting point. Celebrate the small wins.
Celebrate. I thought we were supposed to be all serious about discipline.
No, celebrating is key. It goes back to that habit loop we talked about earlier. Remember the cue, routine, reward cycle?
Yeah, so celebrating is like the reward.
Exactly. It reinforces that positive feeling associated with the habit you're trying to build. It makes you more likely to stick with it.
So it's about acknowledging our progress, even those small victories. Makes sense.
Hmm.
Do you have any suggestions for celebrating effectively?
It honestly doesn't have to be anything big. Like, take a few minutes to really savor the feeling of accomplishment. Allow yourself to feel proud.
So just take a moment to appreciate how far you've come.
Exactly. Or you could give yourself a small reward, like a nice cup of coffee or a few minutes to listen to your favorite music.
Even something small can make a difference.
It really can. The key is to consciously acknowledge your wins and make sure you're connecting them with positive feelings.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. To build that unshakable discipline, it's not about being some kind of superhuman. It's about starting small, planning strategically, minimizing distractions, and celebrating those wins along the way.
That's a great way to put it. And, as you continue on this journey, it's important to remember that discipline is not about deprivation.
It's not about punishing yourself.
No, not at all. It's about freedom. The discipline you build today creates the freedom to achieve those goals and design the life you truly want.
I love that. It's empowering, not restrictive.
Right. So I'll leave you with this. What's one area in your life where you really want to cultivate more discipline? And how can you apply everything we've talked about to get there?
That's a great question to consider. And with that, we'll let you go off and build those bridges to success, one disciplined step at a time.
One celebration at a time.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into building discipline. And keep diving deep.